Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial. A lot happening in our neighborhood. So let's talk about Bangladesh. But let's demystify a lot that is being said about Bangladesh, that's been said about the current political situation. Let's demystify. Let's understand who this lady Sheikh Hasina is. Let's understand what really happened in Bangladesh in a very simple format. Let us understand how it is going to affect India, which is the most important thing, how it is going to affect India, and also let us understand the future of Hindus of Bangladesh, because there have been riots last night and this morning, and Hindus were killed and temples burnt. So let's understand that. Let's get right into the show and let's talk about Bangladesh. Now, Sheikh Hasina, former Prime Minister, or I don't know whether she has still resigned, by the way, because nobody has seen her physical copy of resignation, at least till I recorded this show. So I don't know whether she has officially resigned, but yeah, she has left the country. Sheikh Hasina was the Prime Minister of Bangladesh for 20 years. When I say 20 years, it's not at one stretch, 2009 to 2014, 15 years, and then 1996 to 2001 before. That was 5 years. So put together 20 years she has been the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Now mind you, Bangladesh is not a very old country. Bangladesh happened in 1971. So from 1971 to 2024, Bangladesh is 53-year-old, 54-year-old nation. So usme 20 years, Madam Hasina has been the Prime Minister. So quite a duration. Okay. Now, before I get into what happened to Hasina, let's understand Bangladesh was not a country that was very peaceful, or a country. There was a lot of political uprising in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has a very violent political past. A lot of their leaders were killed, murdered. Now you will ask, our prime ministers also were murdered. There is a difference. In fact, a report says that between August 1975 to 2011, there were 29 military coups in Bangladesh. So this is the Bangladesh background. To my question, you will say that even Indian prime ministers were killed. Difference. The difference is Indian prime ministers were not killed for power, nor by Indians. By Indians maybe, but they were killed by terror groups. Rajiv Gandhi was killed by LTT, which is from Sri Lanka. Mrs. Indira Gandhi was killed by the separatist from Punjab. So they were not killed for power, or they were not killed so that they are removed from. They were killed by terrorist groups. That's the difference. Here, on the other hand, like in Pakistan, they were killed to throw them or get them out of power. So that was the difference. Now, there is one very important factor that plays in one's mind. You see, like I told you, Bangladesh had its share of violence. Bangladesh has seen, like I told you, between 1975 to 2011, they have seen 29 military coups. Mujibur Rahman has been killed, as was assassinated. Ziaur Rahman, that is Begum Khalida Zia's husband, was killed. So on and so forth. So they have seen a lot of coups and military interventions and all of that. Unlike India, unlike us. Luckily, we never had any military intervention. Military never intervened in our politics. These people, like Pakistan, has seen a lot of military intervention. My only hope is that this current intervention, which their current military head, General Waqar-uz-Zaman, doesn't keep that power with him, and doesn't actually put up a interim government, or sets up an interim government, but that interim government works like a puppet for the Bangladeshi military. I hope all that doesn't happen, and democracy is set back. Democracy is established there as soon as possible. People get to vote their prime minister, and a democratically elected prime minister should be in our neighborhood. Very important for India. Very important for India, because unstable neighborhood undemocratic neighborhood, a dictatorship-driven neighborhood can never be good for us. So, in our interest, it is imperative that democracy is established there as soon as possible. So, that's one point I wanted to make. ठीक है, चलो, let's get back to our story. Now, Sheikh Hasina, like I told you, 20 years in power, was not as popular as the world thought her to be. Very interestingly, Sheikh Hasina got 75% of the vote in 2024 elections. 75% of the vote and almost 225 out of the 300 parliamentary seats she got. But she was not popular. You know how she got it? She got it by putting her opposition behind bars, by not allowing their opposition to function, so on and so forth. In fact, I will come to those actual statistics also, but to give you a roundabout understanding, in fact, it was told that she is absolutely crushed democracy in Bangladesh. Now, what really happened is Bangladesh has two major parties. One is her party, that is the Bangladesh Awami League, which is said to be a secular party, which is said to be a party that takes people along and all of that. But this particular party became so autocratic that it started crushing opposition. It started crushing the voice of dissent. So what happened was, during 2024 elections, the opposition said that, Dekho, you cannot conduct elections as in the government there, I mean, with Awami League. While Awami League sits in the government, you cannot have elections. So let's have an interim government. Let's have a caretaker government. And under the supervision of this caretaker government, we'll have a free and fair election. This was what their largest opposition, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party said, BNP said. BNP was headed by Begum Khalida Zia, by the way, that too. Madam Sheikh Hasina said nothing to it. She said, Mera government rahega. You want, participate. Don't want, don't participate. The BNP, the Bangladesh National Parties, they boycotted the election. Sheikh Hasina won big time, 225 out of 300 seats. This was what the election was. So predominantly, what really happened was, while under Sheikh Hasina, the economic growth was fantastic. In fact, that's the statistics that I want to take you through. You see, there's a beautiful article in Hindu which talks about the Bangladesh growth story. So if you see Bangladesh growth story from 1971 to 2023, especially during Sheikh Hasina's time, Bangladesh actually shot. Their GDP was almost as good as India's. At one point, it was slightly better than ours. So the GDP was better. Their human development index was better than India's. So they did well. Their infant mortality rate was almost as good as India's. So economically, they did phenomenally well. Development-wise, they did well. They did phenomenally well. But now let me show you another graph. That's also on your screen. If you see the other graph, when asked whether the heads of government were elected freely and fairly, 2004 was almost flat. People said, no, it was not. Our electoral law implemented impartially, 2024 slumped. 2023, the rating was 3. 2024, the rating went to 2. Is there the right to organize political parties? Again, rating went down. Is there opportunity for opposition to gain power through polls? It was flat, 1. So that's where it stood. Are there free and independent media? Again, 2019 onwards, it was flat. It was hovering around 1. Are people free to express views without fear? No, that too down. So almost every parameter, human rights parameters, civil liberties were absolutely crushed. Is there freedom of assembly? Again, went down. The people said no. Came down from 2013. Is there independent judiciary? Absolutely flat. They said no, almost 1. do individuals enjoy personal social freedom? Where 2013, 2019 and 2024, people said, no, we don't enjoy any personal freedom, all through and through. So this is more or less what Sheikh Hasina's management, Sheikh Hasina's leadership was. So economic-wise, she progressed well. But human, like I told you, human rights, civil liberties, she was a disaster. Now this obviously was suppressing people. And like a lot of people, a lot of social scientists say, you cannot suppress people for a long time. Suppression of people is a short-term duration. After a point in time, it is that volcano is going to erupt, and it erupted. You see, the cause of the eruption was quota. Sheikh Hasina offered a 30% quota to people who fought for independence, 1971. The people and their families, which means their kids would get quota, 30% quota on government jobs. Now the youth got agitated. The youth said 30% jobs? Ye kya baat hui? Acha, that was one end of the story. The second end of the story, the youth also felt that, listen, you know, and a lot of political parties also felt that this 30% quota that Hasina is giving, it's probably going to go to a lot of her people. It's probably going to go to a lot of her people because her father, like I told you, Mujibur Rahman, was the father of Bangladesh. He led the freedom struggle. So people were believed that, Baba, ye 30% na, it is going to go to the kith and kin of her people, her father's followers and her people. So this is a completely unfair. And that triggered this protest, this students' protest. And the students' protest took an ugly turn this Sunday. That's 3 days back. You see, where 93 students were killed, 93 in police firing and tear gas and rubber bullets and whatever. 93 kids were killed. Overall, this protest took 300 lives. So, it went out of hand. Yesterday, their chief of army staff, Waqar Uzzaman, he went out and said that, listen, Madam Prime Minister, pack out. Pack up, 45 minutes I give you, take this helicopter, go wherever you want, you pack and you leave this country, else we are not responsible for you. And of course, he took over the reins of Bangladesh and he says, listen, I am responsible, I'll take control and till I set up an interim government. He also proposed a few names for interim government. So till that time, he said, I will take over. So our lady was put in this, in the chopper, which you are seeing on your screen. She was put in the chopper and she was sent to India. She was supposed to go to London. I will come to that, but she was put in the chopper. Now, initially, when she was put in the chopper, it was said that she is going to land in Kolkata and Mamata Banerjee is going to host her. But then Mamata Banerjee, that seems to be incorrect news. She didn't go to Kolkata. It was said that she is going to go to Agratala. She didn't go to Agratala. She finally went to Ghaziabad, that is in Uttar Pradesh, landed in Hindon Army Base, Hindon Air Force Base actually, Hindon Air Force Base in Ghaziabad, my apologies. And from Ghaziabad, she was taken to Delhi. She is now in Delhi. Now, the story was supposed to be that she was supposed to come to India. India was supposed to be a transit stop. And from here, she was supposed to take a commercial flight and go to London. But that never happened. Lot of rumors are that London said, hang on. Mata abhi idhar, don't come here. Why? 300 people died. 300 people were killed in that protest. One has to understand why those 300 people were killed. One has to understand who ordered for those kills. And if Madam Hasina Sheikh has had ordered for that kill, then she needs to pay for it. So London said, hang on. Before you come to London, wait, let us do our own checks. So this is the status. This is what is being said. Okay. So this is where we've come. This is where we've landed. Now let's understand our perspective, Indian perspective. You see, Sheikh Hasina was very pally with India. She was quite friendly to India. Like I said, her Awami Leagues runs a secular government, at least is seen to run a secular government. So now the thing is, for India it was good to have a very comfortable neighborhood, to have a very cordial neighborhood. It was good. Now, let me tell you something about the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Now, Bangladesh Nationalist Party is a party that was formed to under, like I told you, Zia ur Rahman was formed to unite people of Bangladesh under the nationalistic ideology. And when they started, they were very centrist. Later on, they started drifting towards the right. Now, BNP's student wing was instrumental for General Irshad, the autocratic dictator of Bangladesh. It was this party's student wing that actually removed General Irshad from power. So that's what BNP is. But then there is another party that is with BNP, that ally with BNP, and that is Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islam. Now, what is interesting is their partners, Jamaat-e-Islam. Jamaat-e-Islam is supposed to be Bangladesh Nationalist Party's allies. Now, Jamaat-e-Islam has a very interesting history. Jamaat-e-Islam is a Pakistan-based party, and Jamaat-e-Islam didn't want the split, was against the split between Pakistan and Bangladesh. So they were against the split, obviously. So they were against India. That's number one. Number two, they are not centrist. They are quite a fundamentally radical party, and therefore Bangladesh had banned this party in 1971. So that is the status of Jamaat-e-Islam. So now Jamaat-e-Islam and Bangladesh Nationalist Party put together, whether they will remain centrist, whether they will remain secular, whether minorities in Bangladesh would be safer. These are aspects that India too will be worried about. For India, we are waiting and watching, which is what we can do and which is what we should do. We are waiting and watching, wherein we had invested a lot of our time, efforts, relationships on Sheikh Hasina. Now that's over. Sheikh Hasina, I think, has bid goodbye to Bangladesh, and her chances of going back, it is not zero or it is not, I mean, nobody can rule out anything in politics, but the chances of her going back and then reclaiming and becoming the prime minister back and all seems to be a little far-fetched. First and foremost, she is 76. So all that seems to be a little far-fetched. But the fact remains that we invested a lot of relationship time on Sheikh Hasina. Now we need to build our relationship back with the new government that takes over. And we also need to ensure that the new government that comes in, we maintain a cordial relation with them, because it's imperative that we may have cordial relationship with countries that they are our neighbors, Indian subcontinent. So it is very important that we have a cordial relationship with them. And we also ensure that Hindus, the minorities rather, in Bangladesh are safe. Like we should ensure that the minorities in our own country also are safe. Likewise, we should ensure that minorities in Bangladesh also are kept safe. As a neighboring country, as a power center in this particular region, it is our job to ensure that minorities' human rights are not violated. So this is broadly what the story is, and this is what the situation of Bangladesh is as is. And you react, you let me know what your opinions are, and till I see you next time, that's tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Namaskar.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.